Avengers: Endgame is a 2019 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero team The Avengers. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. It is the direct sequel to Avengers: Infinity War, 2018, and the 22nd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU). Directed by Anthony and Joe Russo and written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, the film features an ensemble cast including Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd, Brie Larson, Karen Gillan, Danai Gurira, Benedict Wong, Jon Favreau, Bradley Cooper, Gwyneth Paltrow and Josh Brolin. In the film, the surviving members of the Avengers and their allies attempt to reverse the damage caused by Thanos in Infinity War. The film was announced in October 2014 as Avengers: Infinity War, Part 2, but Marvel later removed this title. The Russo brothers joined as directors in April 2015. With Marcus and McFeely signing on to write the script a month later. The film serves as a conclusion to the story of the MCU up to that point, ending the story arcs for several main characters. The plot revisits several moments from earlier films, bringing back actors and settings from throughout the franchise, as well as music from previous films. Filming began in August 2017 at Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia, shooting back-to-back with Infinity War, and ended in January 2018. Additional filming took place in the metro and downtown Atlanta areas, New York State, Scotland, and England. The official title was revealed in December 2018. With an estimated budget of $356 minus $400 million, the film is one of the most expensive films ever made. Avengers: Endgame premiere. Avengers: Endgame premiered in Los Angeles on April 22, 2019, and was released in the United States on April 26, as part of Phase 3 of the MCU. The film received praise for its direction, plot. In 2018, 23 days after Thanos killed half of all life in the universe, N1, Carol Danvers rescues Tony Stark and Nebula from deep space and they reunite with the remaining Avengers, Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers, Thor, Natasha Romanoff, and James Rhodes, and Rocket on Earth. Locating Thanos on an uninhabited planet, they plan to use the Infinity Stones to reverse his actions. But discover Thanos has already destroyed him to prevent further use. Enraged, Thor decapitates Thanos. 5 years later, in 2023, Scott Lang escapes from the quantum realm. N2, reaching the Avengers compound, he explains that he experienced only 5 hours while trapped. Theorizing the quantum realm allows time travel. They ask Stark to help them retrieve the stones from the past to reverse the actions of Thanos in the present. Stark, Rocket, and Banner, who has since merged his intelligence with the Hulk's strength, build a time machine. Banner notes that altering the past does not affect their present. Any changes create alternate realities. Visiting the Asgardian refugees settlement New Asgard, in Norway, Banner and Rocket recruit an overweight and despondent Thor. In Tokyo, Romanoff recruits Clint Barton, who has become a vigilante after the death of his family. Banner, L. Rogers, and Stark travel to New York City during Loki's attack in 2012, N3, at the Sanctum Sanctorum. Banner convinces the Ancient One to give him the Time Stone by promising to return the various stones to their proper points in time. At Stark Tower, Rogers retrieves the Mind Stone from Hydra sleeper agents, but Stark and Lang's attempt to steal the Space Stone fails, allowing 2012 Loki to escape with it. Rogers and Stark travel to a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility in 1970, where Stark obtains an earlier version of the Space Stone and encounters his father, Howard. Rogers steals Pym particles from Hank Pym to return to the present and spies his lost love, Peggy Carter. Meanwhile, Rocket and Thor travel to Asgard in 2013. N4. The former extracts the Reality Stone from Jane Foster, while the latter gets encouragement from his mother, Frigga, and retrieves his old hammer. Mjolnir. Barton, Romanoff, Nebula, and Rhodes travel to 2014. Nebula and Rhodes go to Morag and steal the Power Stone before Peter Quill can. N5, while Barton and Romanoff travel to Vormir. The Soul Stone's keeper, Red Skull, reveals it can only be acquired by sacrificing a loved one. Romanoff sacrifices herself, allowing Barton to get the stone. Rhodes and Nebula attempt to return to their own time, but Nebula is incapacitated when her cybernetic implants link with her past self, allowing 2014 Thanos to learn of his future self's success and the Avengers' attempt to undo it. 2014 Thanos sends 2014 Nebula forward in time to prepare for his arrival. Reuniting in the present, the Avengers place the stones into a gauntlet that Stark, Banner, and Rocket built. Banner, having the most resistance to their radiation, wields the gauntlet and reverses Thanos's disintegrations. Meanwhile, 2014 Nebula, impersonating her future self, uses the time machine to transport 2014 Thanos and his warship to the present, destroying the Avengers compound in the process. Present-day Nebula convinces 2014 Gamora to betray Thanos, but is unable to convince 2014 Nebula and kills her. Thanos overpowers Stark, Thor, and Mjolnir-wielding Rogers and summons his army to retrieve the stones, intent on using them to destroy the universe and create a new one. A restored Stephen Strange arrives with other sorcerers. The restored Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, the Ravagers, and the armies of Wakanda and Asgard to fight Thanos's army. Danvers also arrives and destroys Thanos's warship. But Thanos overpowers her and seizes the gauntlet. Stark obtains the stones and uses them to disintegrate Thanos and his army, but the strain of using them kills him. Following Stark's funeral, Thor appoints Valkyrie as the new ruler of New Asgard and joins the Guardians. Rogers returns the stones and Mjolnir to their proper timelines and remains in the past to live with Carter. In the present, an elderly Rogers passes his shield to Sam Wilson. Cast. According to directors Joe and Anthony Russo, Downey was the only actor to receive the entire screenplay for the film. 7. Screenwriters Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely knew that Stark's death was inevitable both as a move to selflessness and as an end to the chapter Stark started. They felt that his death was earned after granting him the perfect retirement life, adding, "That's the life he's been striving for." They got married. They had a kid. It was great. It's a good death. It doesn't feel like a tragedy. It feels like a heroic, finished life. 8. Joe Russo explained that Stark always knew he was going to die because he could never reconcile that notion in himself of not protecting the universe, and added that Stark was the most defiant among the Avengers since Stark is the most formidable of all of them. Because of his heart. 9. The Russos sought Downey's approval for Stark's arc, which they had developed since Captain America: Civil War, 2016. 10. Chris Evans. Marcus described Rogers as someone who is moving towards some sort of enlightened self-interest. McFeely knew Rogers was going to get his dance, he promised Peggy Carter in Captain America: The First Avenger, 2011, with McFeely said that Rogers postponed a life to fulfill his duty, and McFeely didn't think we were ever going to kill him. Which is not the Rogers's story arc. Instead, Rogers's arc is finally get to put his shield down. 8. Patrick Gorman provided on-set reference for an elderly Steve Rogers. 11. In this film, Banner has managed to balance his two sides with gamma experimentation, enabling him to combine his intelligence with the Hulk's strength and physical stature. 13. Based on the Professor Hulk comic book identity. 14. Compared to other heroes who were demotivated by their loss against Thanos, Banner is the only character to remain hopeful, with Anthony Russo explaining, Banner is the sole character who is actually forging into a bright new future, trying to build something totally new and find something completely new. Banner is the one who is most heroic in a sense that he maintains his will to keep trying. 15. This concludes a character arc that was established in Thor: Ragnarok, 2017, and continued in Avengers: Infinity War. Thor now wields a mystical axe known as Stormbreaker, after the destruction of his hammer, Mjolnir, in Thor: Ragnarok. 18. In the film, Thor has become an overweight, drunken ruler of Asgard's refugees in Tunsberg, Norway. Referencing this drastic character change, Hemsworth said, "I just had an opinion. I wanted to do something different this time. Each film I've wanted to, in particular, the last couple, and they were on board," and added, "We shot for many hours and days and discussed how far could we push Thor, and what we could do different." 19. Anthony Russo added, "Even though there's a lot of fun to be had in the movie with his physical condition, it's not a gag. It's a manifestation of where he is on a character level. And we think it's one of the most relatable aspects of him. I mean, it's a very common sort of response to depression and pain." 20. Thor's story was his favorite arc, saying, "Part of Chris' magic as a comedic actor is his dedication to the depth of the character on a very earnest level. It's so devious and subversive when comedy is coming from a place of complete commitment and emotional complexity." 21. Hemsworth underwent around 3 hours of hair and makeup for the transformation, which also required him to wear a large silicone prosthetic suit. He called himself Lebowski Thor on set. 22. Initially, Thor was supposed to revert to his old chiseled self in the middle of Endgame, but Hemsworth successfully argued in favor of retaining Thor's new physique. 22. At the beginning of the film, Romanoff continues to command several teams from around the galaxy in the Avengers headquarters, which Joe Russo explained stemmed from her inability to move on from their failure to stop Thanos, saying, "She's doing everything she can to try and hold the community together. She's the watcher on the wall still." 24. On the decision for Romanoff to sacrifice herself for Barton to acquire the Soul Stone to bring back everyone, Joe Russo stated that it was part of a larger theme exploring the desire to sacrifice, compared to the desire to protect in Infinity War. He says, "When she gets to that Soul Stone scene, I think she understands that the only way to bring the community back is for her to sacrifice herself." 24. McFeely stated, "Her journey, in our minds, had come to an end if she could get the Avengers back. She comes from such an abusive, terrible, mind control background, so when she gets to Vormir and she has a chance to get the family back, that's a thing she would trade for." 8. To prepare for the film, Johansson underwent a high-intensity workout regimen, which included plyometrics, Olympic weightlifting, and gymnastics. as well as a time-restricted eating diet, all under the supervision of her longtime trainer, Eric Johnson, with whom she had worked since Iron Man 2, 2010. The film which introduced her character. 25. McFeely described Barton's dark turn as a good example of people who had much stronger stories after the snap. 8. The film's cold open, which features the disintegration of Barton's family, was initially supposed to be an Infinity War following Thanos' snap. However, it was moved to Endgame instead, with Marcus explaining that it was going to blunt the brutality of what Thanos did. 8. Joe Russo felt it was a very tragic scene to open the movie with. It's one of the few scenes in the movie that actually makes me tear up when I watch it, because I think about my own family. And then you think about what would happen to you, as a father. You'd become very self-destructive. 15. Cheadle described Rhodes's newfound belonging as an Avenger as not so much straddling one foot in the military. He's much more on the side of the Avengers than he was prior. 28. This is reflected on Rhodes's more instinctive and realist worldview in the midst of encountering the Fantastic, with Cheadle explaining, he's definitely got some, what the F is happening, attitude, more than maybe the rest of them do, given his background. But it's a trial by fire. And he's quickly adapted to what the threat is, rather than what he wishes it were. 28. Lang is portrayed by twins Baslow and Loan Leclerc as a baby, by Jackson A. Dunn at age 12, and by Lee Moore at age 93. 29. This was Moore's final film before his death in August 2018. 30. Marcus explained that adding Lang helped with implementing time travel into the film, saying, "We had access to him in the second movie. And the fact that he was bringing a whole subset of technology that did have something to do with a different concept of time was like a birthday present." 31. Marcus stated that Danvers's powers are on a scale that has not previously existed in the MCU and likened her personality to Rogers's, which is sort of a person who's right and knows they're right and doesn't really want to hear it when you tell them they're wrong. 34. Danvers has little screen time in the film, which McFeely reasoned is not the story we're trying to tell. It's the original Avengers dealing with loss and coming to a conclusion, and she's the new fresh blood. 8. Larson filmed her scenes for Endgame before beginning work on her solo film Captain Marvel, 2019, which was released first. Captain Marvel directors Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck were present for the filming of her scenes. After being previously featured as an antagonist or an anti-hero in previous MCU films, Nebula undergoes a redemption arc in the film where she makes amends for her past actions, including an encounter with a past version of herself, with Gillen adding that she is staring her former self in the face and it's really clear how far she's come from that angry, bitter and twisted person. She's starting to connect with other people and find some level of forgiveness. 37. Gillen guessed that Nebula would play a prominent role in the film when she realized that Infinity War and Endgame would be adapted from the Infinity Gauntlet, which she had previously read when she was initially cast as Nebula in October 2014. Marvel announced a two-part sequel to Avengers: Age of Ultron, 2015, titled Avengers: Infinity War. Part 1 was scheduled to be released on May 4, 2018, with Part 2 scheduled for May 3, 2019. 76. In April 2015, Marvel announced that Anthony and Joe Russo would direct both parts of Avengers: Infinity War. 77, with back-to-back filming expected to begin in 2016. 78, that same month. Kevin Feige said the films were titled as two parts of a single film because of the shared elements between the films, but he felt they would be two distinct films, not one story split across two films. 79. By May 2015, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely signed on to write the screenplays for both parts of the film. 80. In May 2016, the Russos revealed that they would be retitling the two films, to further remove this misconception. 81. That July, Marvel removed the film's title, simply referring to it as Untitled Avengers Film. 82. Feige and the Russo brothers indicated the title was being withheld because it would give away plot details for this film and Infinity War. 83. 84. Principal photography began on August 10, 2017. 85. Under the working title Mary Lou 2. 86. At Pinewood Atlanta Studios in Fayette County, Georgia, with Trent Opalock serving as director of photography. 87. 88. The film, along with Infinity War, was shot using IMAX cameras, thus marking the first time that a Hollywood feature film was shot entirely with IMAX digital cameras. 89. That same month, filming occurred in the Gulch area of downtown Atlanta, near the Five Points MARTA station, and Piedmont Park. 90. Feige explained that the films were originally scheduled to be filmed simultaneously but were ultimately shot back-to-back, as it became too complicated to cross-board them like that, and we found ourselves, again, something would always pay the price. We wanted to be able to focus and shoot one movie and then focus and shoot another movie. 91. Anthony Russo originally felt it made more sense to shoot the films simultaneously due to financial and logistical reasons considering the large number of cast members. 92. And had suggested that, some days we'll be shooting the first movie and some days we'll be shooting the second movie, just jumping back and forth. 87. The 2013 Asgard scenes were shot at Durham Cathedral in Durham, England during production of Infinity War in early May 2017. 93. 94. Production wrapped on January 11. 2018. 95. Although additional filming took place in Dutchess and Ulster counties in New York in June 2018. 96. Reshoots began by September 7, 2018, 97, and concluded on October 12, 2018. 98. More reshoots occurred in January 2019. 99. Location shooting also took place in St. Abbs, Scotland, which doubled for New Asgard in Norway. 100. Evans and Hemsworth each earned $15 million for the film. 101. The film's official title, Avengers: Endgame, and final U.S. release date of April 26, 2019, were revealed with the film's first trailer in December 2018. 102. Visual effects for the film were created by Industrial Light and Magic, Weta Digital, DNEG, Framestore, Cinesite, Digital Domain, Rise, Lola VFX, Cantina Creative, Capital T, Technicolor VFX, and Territory Studio. 103. As with previous MCU films, Lola worked on the de-aging sequences. The film features 200 de-aging and aging shots. 104. Downey, Evans, Ruffalo, Hemsworth, Johansson, and Renner were de-aged to their 2012 appearances for scenes recreated from The Avengers. 2012. 105. Michael Douglas, John Slattery, and Stan Lee were also de-aged for the 1970 New Jersey sequence. 72. 106. Douglas's appearance in the streets of San Francisco was referenced. 107. Lola also aged up Evans for the final scene where he is. In June 2016, Alan Silvestri, who composed the score for The Avengers was revealed to be returning to score both Infinity War and Endgame. 109. The Russos started working with Silvestri on the Endgame score in early November 2018, 110, and it was completed in late March 2019. 111. A soundtrack album featuring Silvestri's score was released by Hollywood Records digitally on April 26, 2019, with a physical release on May 24. 112. A music video for the track Portals, composed for the climactic scene in which reinforcements arrive for the Avengers, was released on June 13. 113. Silvestri described the score as having the most versatile tone of the franchise, ranging from thunderous percussion and powerful brass for the action sequences to minimalist, jazz-inspired music for Ant-Man and the Quantum Realm. Silvestri reprises his themes from the previous Avengers films and Captain America, the First Avenger, including material he wrote for Thanos and the Infinity Stones in Infinity War. He found writing the music to end Captain America's story poignant, since he had been on this journey with him since the beginning. 114. The film also uses the Ant-Man 2015 theme by Christoph Beck, the Doctor Strange 2016 theme by Michael Giacchino, and the Captain Marvel theme by Pinar Toprak. 115. Additionally, the songs Come and Get Your Love by Redbone and It's Been a Long, Long Time by Jules Stein and Sami Khan are used. After previously being heard in Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain America, The Winter Soldier 2014, respectively. 116, 117. The marketing campaign for Endgame cost over $200 million, the most for any Marvel Studios film. 118. Promotional partners included Stand Up to Cancer, MasterCard, Ulta Beauty. The Audi e-tron GT concept car, which appears in the film, McDonald's, Geico, Coca-Cola, Google, General Mills, Hertz, Ziploc, Oppo, and Synchrony Financial. 118. A year prior to the film's release, Germain Lussier of IO9 spoke on the approach Marvel might have to take in marketing the film, given the end of Infinity War where many established characters die. He questioned if those characters would appear on posters and in toy campaigns and if the actors portraying them would participate in press events leading up to the film's release. Lussier felt Disney and Marvel could focus on the original Avengers team members, who make up the majority of the living characters, but noted it would be more beneficial to show the return of the dead characters, which would create a mystery and curiosity about how they come back, and a whole new level of interest for the film, while having all the stars front and center. 119. Feige spoke to this in June 2018, stating that these dead characters would not be featured in any marketing for the film. 120. He presented a behind-the-scenes video from the film at Cine Europe. 121, 122, and said that the official marketing campaign for the film would begin at the end of 2018. 123, in early December 2018. Ahead of the first trailer's release, Graham McMillan of The Hollywood Reporter spoke to the fevered anticipation surrounding it and felt remarkable, which was mostly fan-created, without the noticeable direction from Marvel or the filmmakers involved, and that the amount of knowledge surrounding the film without any type of promotion was a kind of brand awareness that the most distributors want for. Because of this, McMillan urged Marvel not to release any trailers for the film since the advanced level of enthusiasm was likely to build before the film's release. That said, he added that the eventual release of the trailer would take away the Schrödinger's cat-esque position, as it was almost guaranteed to cause fans a disappointment at this point. The first trailer for the film was released on December 7, 2018. 125. Dustin Sandoval, Vice President of Digital Marketing for Marvel Studios, stated the marketing team made the choice to prevent including the title or hashtag for the film of its trailer's posts, allowing fans to see the trailer without spoiling it by watching. At the end, 126. Richard Newby, also of The Hollywood Reporter, felt that while not much new material had been revealed in the trailer, it offered a somber glimpse of a universe made unrecognizable and let the viewer consider the ending of Avengers: Infinity War and our questions of loss. Newby also noted how the trailer highlighted the characters' humble beginnings with its visual language, and concluded it left viewers with just as many questions as we had before. 125. Austin Goslin of Polygon pointed out that the title not only references a line Doctor Strange tells Tony Stark in Infinity War, but also a line spoken by Stark in Age of Ultron. Goslin said, "The scene surrounding this line in Age of Ultron is one of the most important ones in the movie. Things look dark, and the group of heroes face an enemy they don't think they can defeat. As such, the Endgame trailer mirrors this perfectly and shows us that the Avengers' two most prominent characters are who they've always been: Iron Man, a pessimist who keeps fighting no matter how hopeless things look, and Captain America, an optimist who believes that nothing is hopeless when the world's heroes fight together." 127. The trailer was viewed 289 million times in its first 24 hours, becoming the most viewed trailer in that time period, surpassing the record of Avengers: Infinity War, 230 million views. The trailer also set a record for Twitter conversation for a film trailer in the first 24 hours. Avengers: Endgame had its world premiere at the Los Angeles Convention Center on April 22, 2019. 132. 133. Disney converted the convention center's Hall K for the film's premiere, working with Dolby and QSC Audio to install a 70-foot (21 meters) screen, Dolby Vision projectors, and a Dolby Atmos sound system. The convention center also held the premiere's red carpet arrival and after party. 133. The film was released in Australia, China, and other parts of Asia and Europe on April 24. 134. In the United Kingdom on April 25. 135. In the United States and India on April 26. 102. 134. And in Russia on April 29. 134. In IMAX and 3D. 136. 137. It was originally scheduled to be released in the United States on May 3. 76. Radio Liberty alleged that the Russian government postponed the film's release in that country to promote Russian-produced films. 138. Avengers: Endgame is part of Phase 3 of the MCU. 139. Following the release of the second trailer for Marvel Studios' Spider-Man: Far From Home 2019, on May 6, Marvel began showing it at the end of Endgame screenings with a message before the film from Far From Home star Tom Holland telling the audience to stay until the end of the credits to see the trailer. 140. In June, Feige announced that Avengers: Endgame would be re-released in theaters with 7 minutes of new post-credits footage, including a Stan Lee tribute, an unfinished deleted scene, and the opening scene of Far From Home. A limited edition poster would also be given out at select theaters. The re-release began on June 28 in the United States, across 1,040 theaters. 141. 142. Avengers: Endgame was released in the US on digital download by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment on July 30, and on Ultra HD Blu-ray, and DVD on August 13, 143. The film was released on both digital HD and Blu-ray on September 2 in the UK. 144. Streaming is exclusive to Disney since November 12. 145. The digital and Blu-ray releases include behind-the-scenes featurettes, audio commentary, deleted scenes, and a blooper reel. 143. Despite being filmed with IMAX cameras and released in IMAX theaters in the 1.90:1 aspect ratio, the home media release only includes the cropped 2.39:1 aspect ratio version that was used for non-IMAX screenings. 146. Reception. Avengers: Endgame grossed $858.3 million in the United States and Canada, and $1.939 billion in other territories, for a worldwide total of $2.798 billion. 4. Becoming the highest-grossing film of all time, 147, until it was surpassed by Avatar, 2009, due to the 2021 re-release in China, 148. As well as the second highest-grossing film of all time in the United States and Canada. Adjusted for inflation, Gone with the Wind, 1939, remains the highest-grossing film, and Avengers: Endgame is the fifth highest-grossing film of all time worldwide, 149. The film had a worldwide opening of $1.2 billion. The biggest of all time and nearly double Infinity War's previous record of $640 million. 150. It was also the fastest film ever to eclipse the $1 billion and $1.5 billion mark, doing so in just 5 days and 8 days, respectively. 151. Deadline Hollywood estimated the film would break even just 5 days after its release, which is unheard of for a major studio tentpole during its opening weekend. 2. The website eventually calculated the final net profit of the film to be $890 million. Accounting for production budgets, P&A, talent participations, and other costs, with box office grosses, and ancillary revenues from home media, placing it first on their list of 2019's Most Valuable Blockbusters, 152, on May 4. The film's earnings at the global box office passed the entire theatrical run of Infinity War and became the fastest film ever to gross $2 billion worldwide, amassing the amount in only 11 days, beating Avatar that did so in 47 days. 153. It also became the fifth film to surpass this threshold, after Avatar, Titanic, 1997, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, 2015, and Infinity War, 154, and the second film to surpass the threshold of $2.5 billion, doing so in just 20 days, outpacing Avatar's record of 72 days, 155, pre. In late December 2018, Endgame was listed as the most anticipated films of 2019, which ranked second by IMDb behind Captain Marvel, ranked first by the ticketing service Fandango, and ranked first in overall by Atom Tickets, 156-157, due to the high demand when pre-sale tickets became available in the US on April 2, 2019. Customers on both Atom Tickets and Fandango experienced long wait times and system delays, while AMC Theaters' website and app crashed completely for several hours. That same day, Fandango announced the film became its top-selling pre-sale title for the first 24 hours, topping Star Wars: The Force Awakens' previous record in just 6 hours. Atom said the film was also the website's best-selling first-day film, outselling Aquaman 2018 by 4 times. And Regal Cinemas reported that Endgame had sold more tickets in its first 8 hours than Infinity War did in its entire first week, 158. The film grossed $120 minus $140 million in pre-sales alone, 134. The day prior to the film's release, Fandango announced it was its biggest pre-selling title of all time, beating The Force Awakens, with over 8,000 sold-out showtimes across the country, 159, in India. The film sold 1 million tickets in just one day for the English, Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu language screenings. 18 tickets were sold every second, 134, in China. Pre-sale tickets became available on April 12 and sold a record 1 million tickets in just 6 hours. Outselling Infinity War's first 24-hour total within the first hour, 160, and made $114.5 million, RMB 770 million, just from pre-sales, 161, United States and Canada. On April 4, industry tracking projected the film would gross $200 minus $250 million domestically during its opening weekend. Although some insiders saw those figures as conservative and expected a $260 minus $300 million debut, 162, 163, by the week of its release, domestic estimates had risen to $260 minus $270 million. With some insiders still suggesting a $300 million debut was possible. The film played in 4,662 theaters, 410 of which were in IMAX. It was the widest release ever, surpassing the record of Despicable Me 3's 2017, 529 theaters, 134, 164. Avengers: Endgame earned $357.1 million in its opening weekend, breaking Infinity War's record by nearly $100 million. It also set records for Friday, $157.5 million, including $60 million from Thursday night previews, Saturday, $109.3 million, and Sunday, $90.4 million, totals. As well as was more of a total gross alone than the previous box office high of all films combined, $314 million, 165. The film then made $36.9 million on Monday and $33.1 million on Tuesday. Both the third highest of all time, 166, 167. In its second weekend the film made $147.4 million, the second best sophomore frame ever, for a 10-day total of $621.3 million. It was the fastest film to ever pass the $600 million milestone, beating The Force Awakens' 12 days and less than half the 26 days it took Infinity War, 168, the following week. The film grossed $64.8 million, the fourth best third weekend ever. It also passed the $700 million mark, tying The Force Awakens' record of 16 days, 169. Endgame was finally dethroned in its fourth weekend by newcomer John Wick. Chapter 3 Parabellum, 2019, 170. It made $17.2 million the following weekend, and a total of $22.3 million. Internationally, Endgame was projected to gross around $680 million over its first 5 days for a global debut of $850 minus $950 million, 174, 175, 134. The film was initially projected to gross $250 minus $280 million in China. in its opening weekend, 134, but made a record $107.5 million, RMB 719 million, in the country on its first day, including $28.2 million, RMB 189 million, from midnight, 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. screenings, beating the Fate of the Furious's 2017 previous record of $9.1 million. Due to the record-breaking first day, partnered with word of mouth, with a 9.1 on local review aggregator Douban and a 9.3 on ticket website Maoyan, debut projections were increased to over $300 million, 161, overall. The film made $169 million on the first day from international countries, the highest total of all time. Its largest markets after China were India, $9 million, South Korea, $8.4 million. The largest non-holiday single-day gross ever, Australia, $7.1 million, France, $6 million, and Italy, $5.8 million, 150, like domestically. The film ended up overperforming and debuted to $866 million overseas. Its largest markets, every one of which set the record for best ever opening in the country, were China, $330.5 million, RMB 2.22 billion, the United Kingdom, $53.8 million, South Korea, $47.4 million. Mexico, $33.1 million, Australia, $30.8 million, Brazil, $26 million, Spain, $13.3 million, Japan, $13 million, 150, and Vietnam, $10 million, 176. It also made $21.6 million over its first 4 days in Russia after a delay of its premiere that was caused by the Russian government. 138, 177, 178, in its first week. The film's top 5 largest international markets were China, $459.4 million, the United Kingdom, $68.2 million, South Korea, $60.3 million, Mexico, $48.6 million, and India, $40.9 million, 179, a week after its release. It became the highest-grossing foreign film of all time in China, 180, and India, 181. In its second weekend, the film's running total passed $1.569 billion from international markets, passing Titanic as the second highest film overseas of all time, 154. As of January 2021, the film's top international markets were China, $629 million, United Kingdom, $115 million, South Korea, $105 million, Brazil, $86 million, and Mexico, $78 million. 4. Peter de Bruges of Variety wrote, "After the must-see showdown that was Infinity War, the Russo brothers deliver a more fan-facing 3-hour follow-up, rewarding loyalty to Marvel Cinematic Universe." 187, J.R. Kinnard of Pop Matters wrote, "Big-budget action filmmaking doesn't get much better than this." 188, Todd McCarthy of The Hollywood Reporter said, "W. Hat comes across most strongly here. Oddly enough, for an effects-driven comic book-derived film, is the character acting, especially from Downey, Ruffalo, Evans, Hemsworth, Brolin, and Paul Rudd." 189, Richard Roper, writing for the Chicago Sun-Times, gave the film 4 stars and praised its emotional punch, as well as the funny, well-paced, smart Expertly rendered screenplay by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, crisp direction from Anthony Russo and Joe Russo, and the universally stellar performances 190. The New York Times reviewer A.O. Scott gave the film a positive though guarded review, stating, "Endgame is a monument to adequacy. A fitting capstone to an enterprise that figured out how to be good enough for enough people enough of the time. Not that it's really over, of course. Disney and Marvel are still working out new wrinkles in the time-money continuum. But the Russos do provide the sense of an ending. A chance to appreciate what has been done before the timelines reset and we all get back to work." 191. Justin Chang of the Los Angeles Times wrote that, "Avengers Endgame achieves and earns its climactic surge of feeling, even as it falls just short of real catharsis." 192. Some have noted the film as a notable improvement over its predecessor, Avengers Infinity War, such as Brian Tallarico of RogerEbert.com, who stated that Endgame is a more patient, focused film than Infinity War, even as its plot draws in elements of a dozen other movies. 193. Matt Zoller Seitz, also of RogerEbert.com, gave the film a positive assessment as compared with Infinity War, which he considered too crowded, too rushed and yet too long. Seitz stated that Endgame is a heartfelt and satisfying experience, along with being a surprisingly relaxed, character-driven, self-aware yet sincere comedy, for two-thirds of the film. Much of the script suggests a laid-back Richard Linklater movie with superheroes. 194. Joe Morgenstern of The Wall Street Journal acknowledged the unique achievement that Avengers Endgame accomplished as the conclusion of the Infinity Saga, calling the final battle inevitably unwieldy, but thrilling all the same, and followed by a delicate coda. So many stories. So many adventures. So much to sort out before the next cycle starts. 195. Richard Brody, writing for The New Yorker, was more critical of the film, opining that the good acting was not matched by comparable skill from the directors. He said, "The Russos have peculiarly little sense of visual pleasure, little sense of beauty, little sense of metaphor, little aptitude for texture or composition. Their spectacular conceit is purely one of scale, which is why their finest moments are quiet and dramatic ones." 196. Anthony Lane of The New Yorker gave the film a compromising review, finding it to be overdeveloped and overwrought, stating, "The one thing you do need to know about Avengers Endgame is that it runs for a little over 3 hours. And that you can easily duck out during the middle hour, do some shopping, and slip back into your seat for the climax. You won't have missed a thing." 197. Accolades. Avengers Endgame was nominated for 1 Academy Award, 198, 1 Annie Award, 199, 1 British Academy Film Award, 203 Critics' Choice Awards, winning 2, 201, 1 Grammy Award, 202, 1 Hollywood Film Award, 1, 203, 4 MTV Movie and TV Awards, winning 3, 204, 7 People's Choice Awards, winning 3, 205, 2 Satellite Awards, 206, 14 Saturn Awards, winning 6, 207, 208. 1 Screen Actors Guild Award, 1, 209, and 9 Teen Choice Awards, winning 4, 210, among others. The film was the most viewed Wikipedia article of 2019, garnering 44.2 million page views, 211. Further information. List of Marvel Cinematic Universe films section. Future. In May 2018, Disney CEO Bob Iger said of Marvel's plans beyond Endgame, I'm guessing we will try our hand at what I'll call a new franchise beyond Avengers, but that doesn't necessarily mean you won't see more Avengers down the road. We just haven't made any announcements about that." Iger added, "Given the popularity of the characters and given the popularity of the franchise, I don't think people should conclude there will never be another Avengers movie." 212. Shortly after the film's premiere, the Russo brothers said they were not opposed to returning to the MCU in the future due to their positive relationship with Marvel Studios, but did not plan to do so at that time. 213. In January 2021, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige said another Avengers film would happen, at some point. 214. Acting, musical score, action sequences, visual effects, and emotional weight, with critics lauding its culmination of the 22-film story. The film grossed $2.798 billion worldwide, surpassing Infinity War's entire theatrical run in just 11 days and breaking numerous box office records, including becoming the highest-grossing film of all time, which it held from July 2019 until March 2021. The film received numerous awards and nominations, including a nomination for Best Visual Effects at the 92nd Academy Awards, 3 nominations at the 25th Critics' Choice Awards, winning 2, and a nomination for Special Visual Effects at the 73rd British Academy Film Awards.